Dragon Ball Daima is a special, special show, the likes of which we've never seen before, and in many ways, we'll never see again. As someone who loves Dragon Ball, and has been saying for years that I wish we could take a side quest to explore the Demon Realm, it feels like this show was made for me specifically. This is going to be a little bit of a different video. I'm not going to go ahead and try and unpack the core themes of the main story of Dragon Ball Daima. I just want to talk about how much I love Dragon Ball, and given the tone of my previous video on Dragon Ball, I get how you could not get that impression. Since Daima's reaching its end, there really couldn't be a better time to gush about this amazing series. Today, we're just here to talk about Dragon Ball and why we love it. First things first, something that you have to understand going into this is that Akira Toriyama has always taken a fairly passive role when it comes to the anime of Dragon Ball. He's a mangaka, so naturally his priority was always the manga. That being said, something about Dragon Ball Daima spoke to him, so not only was this the most involved he ever was with the production of an anime, but originally it was only planned to be a short web series of questionable canon status, but after Toriyama's input, it was adapted into the full-on anime that we ended up getting. Of course, it's impossible to say if this was his decision specifically, but the fact remains that he saw something special in this show, so let's take a look at it piece by piece. Jakujan, the opening theme of Dragon Ball Daima, was composed by the EDM musician Zed, but the story behind this composition is, similarly to the production of the whole show, very special. Zed is a huge Dragon Ball fan, so getting the call to compose an opening for the new Dragon Ball series must have been incredibly exciting, but the pressure also had to be insane, right? I mean, he's a huge fan of Dragon Ball, so you'd have to think to put your best foot forward in this once-in-a-lifetime chance. But that being said, what did he do? Out of Time by Zed is a song that has a lot of personal meaning to him. He stated in an interview that he started working on it back in 2015. Ever since, it has become one of his favorite compositions he's ever made, though originally he couldn't quite bring himself to finish it. Eventually he was able to finish the composition, and the song acted as the single for his 2024 album Telos, almost 10 years after he initially began working on it. This composition means the world to Zed, and it's evident that he considers it the best song he's ever created, so naturally he used this composition as the basis for the opening theme, Jakujan. This isn't even to mention that the lyricist for the song is Yukinojo Mori, and if you're not familiar with Yukinojo Mori, you absolutely should be, considering he also wrote Chala Head Chala, We Gotta Power, Kuzen Zetsu Go, and both openings for Dragon Ball Super, among many others. He's basically written every opening that the series has had across the years, and to see him back is heartwarming at the least. Speaking of lyricism, the last point that I want to make about the opening is this. Of course, during the production of this show, Toriyama sadly passed away, so certain parts of the production had to shift accordingly. One of the best changes that they could have possibly done is with the lyrics of the opening theme. Although there's no real way to know that they changed it for sure during the production, it seems to be that the lyrics, which spell out Akira Toriyama's name in the bridge, was an intentional nod and celebration of the creator's life. After that moment, the song moves on, in a sense, to focus on enjoying the incredible piece of entertainment that he spent his life creating. It gets me really emotional when the music swells here, and it's one of the things that makes me believe that this show ended up as a love letter to Toriyama and everything he contributed to the world. On the topic of bringing people back to the series, the animation team is basically a dream team of people who have worked on Dragon Ball in the past. I don't want to get super deep in detail about names and everything, but I'll link a video below going over exactly who are here. Basically what you need to know is this. The team that animated Dragon Ball Daima is full of hard hitters from every era. OG Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. All of them are here, lending a hand to help celebrate the series. In addition, most shows don't have very long for pre-production. Usually about 2 to 3 episodes are fully finished by the time the pilot airs. Famously, Dragon Ball Super had close to no time for pre-production, and because it was on a weekly schedule rather than seasonal, this led to many of the countless issues that the series faced early on, as the talented team they'd put together just couldn't do anything about the unfair schedule. It seems that the higher-ups learned from their mistakes, and because of that, they gave the animators almost 2 years of pre-production. So by the time the show started airing, basically everything that's been released up to now was fully finished. A schedule like this just flat out doesn't happen anywhere in the animation world, and both of these are just a few more instances about how unfathomably unlikely this series is to have been made. So we have an opening theme, we have an animation team, but what exactly is the show about? I mean, you can have some of the most talented people in the world working on something they're passionate about, but if the concept isn't good, who's gonna watch it? This show is about the cast of Dragon Ball, less than a year after the defeat of Buu. During the Buu saga, Dabura died. Dabura was the king of the Demon Realm, and so this power vacuum allowed for Goma to take his place as Demon King. Majin Buu was originally created in the Demon Realm, and his creation ravaged the founding of the dimension. So, upon seeing that Goku and his group were able to defeat Buu, Goma decided that something needed to be done about it. Goma made a wish on the Earth Dragon Balls to turn the main cast back into kids so that they wouldn't be powerful enough to interfere with his plan, kidnapping baby Dende on the way out. Goku and his group are recruited by a mysterious man named Glorio to explore the Demon Realm and gather the Dragon Balls to undo the previous wish and get Dende back. The show has been criticized for turning the cast into kids again, especially given how that aligns it with GT, which the fandom generally can't stand. But frankly, I don't mind the decision at all. It allowed Toriyama to get back to a less serious, more fun-loving Goku in a way that doesn't jeopardize his character like people believe Super does. I've heard the show described as a fusion of every era of Dragon Ball, and frankly, I agree. There are elements of each era in the show, and there's really something out there for everyone, no matter what part of the series is your favorite. So let's take a step back and look at what Daima has going for it so far. One of the greatest mangaka of all time decided to take full creative control over an anime, something he never does, with an opening theme composed by a lifetime fan of the series using the culmination of 10 years of tweaking and perfecting his work. The lyrics are written by the absolute GOAT of writing Dragon Ball openings. The series has almost every well-known or influential animator from Dragon Ball storied history, who were each given an insane amount of time for pre-production, and the premise of the show covers the one and only blind spot in world building that the series has, which people have been curious about for years. And it's done in a way that revisits a part of the series that people generally consider a failure, this time with input from Toriyama himself. Which is important considering one of the main flaws of GT is that Toriyama wasn't heavily involved at all. This is what I mean when I say Dragon Ball Daima is special. It truly feels like all the stars aligned for this show to be made, and for it to be the last Dragon Ball project that Toriyama worked on before his passing, it feels fitting that he was given the chance to make something so celebratory as this. I hesitate to call this a review of Dragon Ball Daima, mostly because the show isn't fully out yet, but this is more like me just gushing about how much I love Daima and Dragon Ball in general, so let's keep going. I really do mean it when I say this show has a little bit of something for every Dragon Ball fan, no matter what era is your favorite. The first few episodes feel a lot like early Dragon Ball, there's lore regarding the additions that Super made to the universe, and plenty of classic Dragon Ball Z action with at least one new form so far to top it off. Daima is a once-in-a-lifetime show. It's not every day that a creator is given the chance to celebrate every era of their work like this, especially someone as revered and respected as Akira Toriyama. Dragon Ball Daima is the last Dragon Ball project that Toriyama worked on before his passing. Of course, this led to huge expectations from eyes all around the world. Toriyama was widely loved and respected, so fans of the series had massive expectations for his final project. I can't say how the series ended up in any sort of objective way. I love Dragon Ball way too much to be any sort of objective about it, but in my opinion, I absolutely loved what the show has released so far, and I can't wait to see the final act. Dragon Ball is one of the most beloved series ever made. It has touched the hearts of countless people across the world, and I'm sure Akira Toriyama knew that before his passing. I love Dragon Ball because it introduced me to a whole new world of entertainment that I never knew existed.
Hey guys, Jay asked me to tell you guys why I love Dragon Ball, and I was growing up, I was a victim of bullying, um, pretty bad when I was a kid, and Dragon Ball was my escape. Dragon Ball was my way of feeling like I wasn't that victim. I would always come home, I'd watch Dragon Ball, and I'd see Goku's infectious, happy nature, and it would just pull me in. And growing up, I tried to model myself to be just like that, just like the character I admired as a kid. And it's definitely worked. Um, I love this series. This series means a lot to me. The creator means a lot to me. Everything like Toriyama has affected my life in so many ways. Like he made like his work on Dragon Quest to his work on Dragon Ball to even Arale. It's amazing. Peace.
Thank you, Akira Toriyama, for being an inspiration of strength and bravery in my life.
Akira Toriyama is one of the most influential entertainers in modern history. He oversaw character designs for Dragon Quest, a revolutionary game that popularized the turn-based RPG, Mario's movement animations in Mario 64, a revolutionary platformer, were based on Arale from the project that Toriyama did before Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump. And Sonic the Hedgehog's super form was inspired by Super Saiyan, and the series has taken more and more of Dragon Ball as time goes on. All of this, and we haven't even touched the world of anime and manga, the likes of which would look unimaginably different from how they do today without his work. All this is to say, despite being only one man, the landscape of modern entertainment would look significantly different if it weren't for Akira Toriyama. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. The world cannot thank you enough for what you've given to it. I feel really, really bad about the last Dragon Ball video that I made. Honestly, I was way too harsh on the series, and what originated as an interesting connection between two characters I love ended up as an unnecessary indictment of the series, and that's not what I meant it to be. I'd like to thank Lunar Arts Gaming for agreeing to be in this video. It means the world that you are willing to share your personal experiences with the show. The link to his channel will be in the description. As the channel continues to grow, I'm left with a lot to think about. On one hand, I want to make sure I upload as many videos as possible, but on the other hand, I want to make sure I take my time with my videos and make them as good as I'm capable of making them at that time. On this channel, I'll be uploading at least once a month on the first of every month. Some months might get more than that, but I'm committing to at least one on the first. In addition to that, to have some more frequent uploads, I'll be branching out into live streaming and gaming content, so that'll be on my second channel, which is linked down in the description. So if that's something you're interested in, or if you want more of me, I'll be over there, so again, that'll be linked in the description. Once again, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this video. It really means everything to me that you decided to watch the whole way through. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. That's about all from me today. Peace.